Okay, call to order the meeting for the Town of Pierson Charter Review Committee for Thursday, July 10th, 2025.
One of us give you a roll call?
Would you give me a roll call, please?
Oh, sure.
Here.
Vice Chairman Rick Davis.
Here.
Council Committee Member Sue Elliott.
Here.
Committee Member Jeremy Stedman.
Here.
I am present and you should be put.
Rick, would you please give the invocation?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for having the opportunity to be here to to conduct the business of the town of Pierson. We ask you to bless our efforts today and bless the people of this town so that the decisions or the input we make is beneficial to them. We ask these things in the name of your Son, our Father, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I guess we need to approve the minutes from the last meeting, the meeting for June 5th, 2025.
I move to approve with the exception of line 32, Sue Elliott was not mad, she made a motion.
Made. You got a good eye there. I missed that one.
Which line is that?
Line
32.
Okay.
I second.
I got a motion to approve from Jeremy Stedman and a second from Rick Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So carried. Okay, new business. I guess we're open for discussion on these edits or any questions.
I like the comment on page 2 that he made about permanent residents and resident of Florida. And I think stating that the person must be a resident of Pierson and a qualified elector would be much more concise.
I agree. The way that paragraph is worded they're worded in a negative. So I guess any input we would have to make, unless we're going to change the whole line, would have to be in a. For example, where his arrow goes, I wrote down after the comma is not a permanent resident, and then comma, and then it would go to and who is not a qualified elector of said town. I don't know if that's the way to do it or not.
And when you say of said town, should that be worded somehow within town limits? Because there's a lot of addresses that are of said town that are not in city limits.
Well, if they're not in the city limits, they can't vote anyway. I'm correct on
Correct.
that. So we're probably okay there. I don't know.
Well, if they're a qualified elector, they would have to be in the town. That would have been cleared by the elector.
Supervisor.
Super of election.
And that's also covered a bit later. Let's see.
Page 3.
Section 7 under voter qualification.
Yeah. General laws and shall reside within the territorial limits of the said town.
Okay.
Permanent resident, yeah.
And then after that comma, I said is a permanent resident, comma, and shall have registered in accordance. Now he said we shouldn't be doing the ordinance of said town. Because he said registering the vote is handled by the supervisor.
You are correct. That's
Right.
elections.
and these are just words I put in. I wrote, registered in accordance with the laws of the state of Florida, comma, shall be entitled to vote. But anyway, we jumped there, and but this is where English teachers come in.
Yeah.
I am not an English teacher. But biology teachers should be able to handle that too.
Okay.
Now, while we've jumped up, I'm going to throw in under Article 2, page 3, municipal powers. From what he wrote, I gathered we just need to strike that.
Strike all
completely.
of number 2.
Yeah.
Just- I thought his comments were right on, spot on.
Yeah, I agree.
Max and I had quite a debate over them.
And what did he think?
He agreed. He said, we finally agreed on everything that I said. He's the one that can wordsmith better than I do.
I do know the lawyers on page 2, under provisions for elections B, where he highlighted, he just made a comment. So the city does not have a primary election, and no, we don't, because we don't do it by parties, so we don't even have to worry about that.
For his comment, we don't need to act on there.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
So let's go. How do we want to work on this?
Well,
Why don't we start where his first suggestions are and just work our way down and just
I agree.
and just work through it and
we've softened them all up. We might as well.
yeah, put our touches on it and
Okay, on that first statement, which is under section 4, officers, but it's on page 2. Rules and regulations, I'm going to skip over. No person shall be eligible for election as mayor or councilman who has not resided in the town for a period of 1 year immediately preceding the qualifying date, comma, is not a permanent resident, comma, and who is not a qualified elector of said town of Pierson and a citizen of the state of Florida. So that's how I would word that, because everything was worded in the negative, so which I always hate.
With the exception of citizen, you would want to put resident.
isn't that
Resident.
what he
Yes.
he said.
Yes, yes.
That's basically the only change he made on that, wasn't it?
Well, he does. It may be better to say that the person has to have a permanent residence.
Yes, because we have
Which-
some part-time people.
That's where I inserted that one little line where I went, comma, is not a permanent resident. Because, like I said, everything's written in the negative there. But I'm glad he picked up on the resident.
All right, you said qualifying date, comma, is not a qualified,
Is not a permanent resident.
a permanent.
Resident, comma, and who is not a qualified elector. So, and then it goes on to the resident. He did say he wasn't sure if a person is a citizen of Florida instead of resident of Florida. Nothing to that really. I think we've got it covered with what Jeremy suggested. And
Would a lot of that, wouldn't that, of those rules and regulations come under the supervisor of elections or not? You have to be a permanent resident to, or no?
I don't know.
No, well, I would say the towns, it's like what you're looking at in California. They're wanting to give, let's say San Francisco is wanting to give non-residents, non-citizens, the right to vote in the city. So I'm basically, I would say the city has the right to determine who can vote here. So,
Who's qualified?
Yeah.
Okay.
And thank God we're not California.
Me too.
Okay.
Or Texas.
No, yeah, they're struggling now.
So on that top page 2, then we're changing. We're gonna change that to permanent resident.
Here, where my air little bit
Yeah.
insert
Is not,
is not a permanent resident.
Right.
Then another comma, continue that sentence down to where it said citizen and change that to resident.
Resident. Okay.
So if you want to look, does that fit with what you're hearing me say?
yeah.
Yes.
It must be
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and I'm just glad we're not having to do what Sue had to do 10 years ago.
Yeah.
that was horrible.
Yes, you would have done for us.
Yeah, that made our job a whole lot easier.
But gobbledygook.
She should have been the chairman, right?
No.
And
Exactly
vice
right. She
chairman.
had experience at all this.
Exactly.
Okay.
So his next comment, we don't even have to do anything on.
So the city does not have, correct.
Except,
Okay.
We can participate in primary elections if there's more than 2 people running for a seat.
Yes. You're right.
So in other words, if council seat 2 is open and 3 people run, then
There
they
is
have a primary.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, but is it classified a primary if it is not a party? Because primaries are typically run by the Republican or
well,
the
your
Democrat.
party would be your seat. And what Ryan's saying is true. We did have 2 run at one point.
We had 3
3.
in the 20 election. We had 3 run for 1 seat.
When Stuart McBride ran against somebody up for 1 seat at one point.
And we here in Pierson,
Pierson.
we had Brandy and Miss Green and Jimmy Anderson run off of the same seat that 1 year.
That 1 year. So we do
In
have
20.
primary.
Well, let me ask you this. Define plurality.
I looked that up today. And
I did not.
Sounds to me like a majority. Not.
I don't have my phone or I'd look it up. Because did we break it down where they had to?
Right there, it's still on my phone from today.
That's dog.
That's the puppy.
Well, plurality is when you receive more votes than everybody else. It doesn't necessarily mean you have a majority of the votes.
Okay.
Okay, so they're saying whenever one shall receive a plurality of the votes, then he's declared elected. So he's most of the votes, the most votes.
It's confusing too, though, when the candidate, in any election, if we had a primary, that would be an election.
So the way this reads is, according to our charter, they would all go on the general ballot. So
Right.
you'd have the 3 people ran, but that's not how we did it the last time.
No.
I don't think.
No.
So is that a
No.
supervisor of elections rule? That you have to have a primary if you've got more than 2 for a
I think it
council seat
is.
or a commission seat?
I think that may be the case. You have
Because this is
to
written-
eliminate to get down to,
Right, but like the way this is written, apparently in the past, or the way Pierson envisioned it when they wrote this charter, is that, say you had 3 people, the plurality means you might not get the majority, but you've got the most.
Right.
yeah.
Right, so,
Well, our
They
charter
sort of
allows
envision
for
that.
that as it stands.
so maybe we need to clarify with Scott, or maybe we need to clarify with the supervisor of elections, if there has to be, in the case of more than 2 candidates, if they have to do a primary. In
I
other
know
words,
we
if
did
the
it.
General,
In 20, we did it.
I feel like I had seen that somewhere before.
In 20, we did it.
Because that was, we voted over, wasn't that when we voted over at the high school
I
right
think so, yeah,
here?
I think so.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
that was
three
during
there.
COVID.
Yep, during COVID.
But we had 3 going for 1 seat, and they knocked it down to 2,
Mhm.
and then those 2 was on the November ballot.
Well, you could approve it the way that it is, and if we're allowed to have more than 2 people, then you wouldn't have any changes. But if supervisor of elections requires you to have a primary, then we probably need to readdress that clause and mention that in there. That's what I would do.
That would,
Well, if you go to A, when 2 more candidates are nominated for any elective office,
Okay, so this thing says in the November general election, it doesn't say anything about
a primary.
primary. It says
Right.
in the November general election.
because the one above A talks about
So,
calling the election.
so how did they handle it in
Okay.
20 then?
Well, it says that the town of Pierson, it would be to the duty to the town council of the town of Pierson to call an election to be participated in by the qualified electors of the town. So is that what you was talking about?
Well, I'm guessing if we had a primary election, we just did it during the primary. In other
I
words,
guess the town
the town could
decides.
call a special election.
I guess the town decides if it needs to have a primary. Depends on who all signed up for the.
Yeah,
Let me see if I can go back in the results and find. I
Yeah,
thought that was in 2020.
yes.
Yes, it was in 20.
as for Part A, the way I look at that is if,
No, 22, wasn't it? It's in 22. It was in 22 because that's the year Lenny ran.
That's right.
And this is our 3rd year here,
22.
so it was in 22. I'm sorry.
as for,
You know, you've been living with it.
Yeah, I know it.
as for Part A, the way I look at it is they're just referring that if you've got 2 people that want to run, they call an election. If only
Okay.
one's running, you don't have to,
Right,
I guess.
Okay.
that's right.
But
If only
this-
one person is running, we don't even put them on the ballot.
Yeah, but this primary question, that's a
Yes.
question.
During the 2022 primary in August 23rd, 2022, there was a primary for Pierson with Jimmy, Dale Barnhart, who withdrew, Kelly Green, and Brandy.
Right.
And then the top 2 in that were Jimmy and Brandy.
Brandy.
They went
They went to the November general
So we
election.
did it. They did have a primary election.
Yeah.
that year. So that's handled by the supervisor of elections.
I would think.
In
Yeah,
other words, we should probably, in the charter, say something about that.
I'm trying to think if there's a way around it. We're having to change anything there.
say general elections even shall be held on the
So I guess
General Florida Election Code.
because A, on page 2, A kind of addresses that. When 2 or more candidates are nominated for an elective office, it shall be the duty of the council to call an election to be participated in by a qualified elector. So
Oh, a
technically,
primary
that's what they
election?
did, right? Because they put it on the primary ballot.
Yeah.
So in theory, that is already covered.
So the town of Pierson notified the supervisor of elections that they needed to.
And
on
I
that
guess
August deal.
I guess the whole county had their primaries on that day. I would
Yeah.
assume.
Yeah, if there was any
Yeah.
seats that had more than 2 people running, because
They probably
Ponce
just.
Inlet and New Smyrna and Edgewater all had council seats
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
So,
So is that just a given per the supervisor of elections?
probably.
So should it be worded in here even?
I don't know that you would, because when it says it's the duty of the town council of the town of Pierson,
It's technically the duty of the
it's
supervisor of
technically the
elections.
duty of the supervisor of elections, but does that mean that Pierson couldn't hold a special election and do their own prime? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
maybe they just do that because it's easier, because there's already a primary.
And it doesn't cost as much.
Because
That's
like,
it.
I mean, think about it, there's like, when Sammy became mayor and they combined the mayor seat and the chairman seat, that was a special election.
That was
the
in
council
22.
called. Right.
That was in 22.
Right, so in other words, the council probably does have the power to call special elections outside of the general, but we probably just followed.
But they run probably with the county's elections.
Yeah, because if not, you have to pay for the whole thing yourself.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
There's
that's
some
big.
It's
money
not gonna
to
pay
it.
to print ballots
And
and,
that's why you got your deadlines
yeah.
and such.
So in effect, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't need to change anything there then.
I wouldn't think so, no.
Okay. And that would, on A or B?
I think they've,
I'm gonna ask Scott for clarification on that one, but to me, A kind of is broad enough that, because you could say, well, the town council decided they were just gonna hold it on the primary election that was set by the supervisor of elections. So in other words, I think A covered you on that, but I could be totally wrong.
Did that answer your question?
Answer my question.
Good with it?
I don't know why Scott specifically asked that, but
Yeah, I looked at it, he's just making a comment.
yeah.
Maybe he wasn't clear on it. Would be
Well,
the
and
Maybe
Scott's
that was
worked
a
for
hint.
bigger cities, and they have the power to, I mean, they probably hold special primaries for seats and stuff, but
Yeah.
if we've ever done that.
Well, we're
Okay.
getting so big, we'll probably have 15 candidates for every.
Because if you look through like the supervisor
Everybody's
of
running
elections
to do it.
results on their website, sometimes it'll be like an off month and year, and it'll just be one thing on the ballot. It'll be Edgewater
Yeah.
Right.
was passing this, or Lake Mary, or Lake Helen was passing whatever, so. But again, I think you probably have to coordinate that with county.
because over here on page 3, he, in his comment, he said, it's handled by the supervisor of elections. So a lot of our things are designated by the supervisor of elections.
Which makes sense, because they're the ones tallying it, because they're the ones who register voters. I mean, they have to confirm ballots, and we don't do any of that.
No.
Because we don't register ours by voters by ordinance.
No.
Yeah, that's where I inserted laws of the state of Florida. But I don't even know if that, is necessary, but that does. I have it written down as where
Now
he started writing shall reside within the territorial limits of said town, comma, and then I put is a permanent resident, comma, and shall have registered in accordance with, and that's where it says ordinances. And I just said laws of the state of Florida, or
Handled by the supervisor
Yeah.
of elections of Volusia County.
yeah,
I think the Volusia County needs to be in there because the
Yeah.
supervisor of election,
they're the ones that handle it.
every county has one.
Could we simply say and shall have registered with the supervisor of elections? The Volusia County supervisor of elections, would that cover that?
Yeah, in accordance with Volusia County Supervisor of Elections, yeah.
That's what I would say. I would say register in accordance with the supervisor, Volusia County Supervisor of Elections.
I agree.
Because ultimately, they're the ones that follow state law and verify all the voters in Volusia, so.
What about his previous comment about the maybe we say is a permanent resident of Pierson rather than shall reside within territorial limits.
The, where, after the word,
Same paragraph, so
yeah, after town, comma, I was suggesting to put in there is a permanent resident, comma, and then shall have registered in accordance with the Volusia County Supervisor of Elections. That gets a permanent resident thing that he wanted in there. Now, I guess that we've got that in there twice now in the charter. One's a positive, one's a negative, the way it's worded.
Yeah, agree on that one.
You good on that one?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
I have a question on page 4. What was section 3 is now section 2, town council.
Mhm.
A town marshal and policeman to employ. A town
It-
marshal?
We
Or,
don't have to do that.
We left it in there, we'll talk about that at the first meeting, because it says they shall have the right and authority to appoint or employ one, so should they ever want to do that in the
they can
future,
go
they
back
have
to it,
the right
okay.
do that.
And the way things go, we may maybe wind up doing that. I don't know.
I'll nominate Paul.
Yeah,
What's that?
you're gonna be our new
Nominate Paul.
constable. Barney Fife.
And we earlier on Article 2, page 3, we said to strike all of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know I had no more questions on it.
I think that's it.
I think we've eliminated all the gobbledygook and
I agree. Now it's up to Ryan to figure out what we did.
Now, what will you do? Go through this and retype them
We have a copy of them.
again?
Yeah, if someone will give me the markup version, the way you want it worded,
He takes way better notes than me.
I'll
Well-
redo it.
If he can read my chicken scratching.
And what I'll do is I'll send you an email copy of it. And then, I think we have to meet again. If everyone just gives me a yay or nay in their email that they're satisfied with it, if you all want it, I'll just send it to Scott and let him review
Let
it.
him look at it and then
Then if we have to meet again, we can.
Yeah, I mean, I can email y'all if there's other questions or whatever, but I still am gonna ask him for clarification on the primary thing. I do think that the way we have it worded is probably sufficient, but he must have had some other train of thought that made him question it. I don't know what, but we'll ask him.
all right. So do we need to set up another meeting today or?
I would think we would only have to do it if Scott says you'll need to do
do we, if we give permission that with our acceptance of it, and you send it to us, just that we say, send it on to the others. We
Yeah, I
can-
mean, if there's a consensus, if you all just email me back individually and say, yeah, looks good to me,
Okay.
I don't
Do we
think
need
there's
a
any reason
motion
for us to
saying
meet.
that?
I would
Yeah,
just
it wouldn't hurt.
probably make a motion that I make the proposed changes and verify that with all of you before sending it to the attorney.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion was made by, I forgot your name,
Sue.
Miss Sue Elliott, and second by Jeremy Stedman to, for Ryan to rewrite the changes we made today and send it on to the town attorney, to Scott, and then send it back to each of us individually for approval or disapproval.
Exactly.
If all approved, send
If
it
all
on to
approved,
the council.
Send it to the council.
we good?
As long as everybody, you have all yays, all nays?
Yeah,
Oh,
Yay.
yeah,
all yeas.
There ain't no way I'm voting nay.
Okay, so carried.
This is probably the most painless
I don't see adjourns it.
charter thing.
Meeting adjourned?
Yes.
Yes, this meeting is adjourned.
Hit the hammer.